Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secure and Defend monthly kickoff call. My name is David DeSanto, Director of Product for the Secure and Defend section. I'm joined by all of the PMs as part of this section, and we want to share a lot of great updates that are coming out with 13.5 and beyond. So before we get started, I just want to take a moment and acknowledge what's going on in the world today. Here are 3 shots from NASA on the impacts of the wildfires in the US. It's a big problem. Our hearts go out to everyone who's impacted. You can learn about how you can help by visiting the Red Cross website or any nonprofit disaster relief organization of your choice. And again, our hearts go out to not only the GitLab employees impacted, but everyone who's impacted by the wildfires. To kind of dive in, we're going to focus primarily on the 2 stages, Secure and Defend. You can see them highlighted here. Secure is continuing to grow and expand. And last time we talked a little bit about our new category, Fuzz Testing. But you can see we have a full complement of categories and lots of updates related to them. Our 3 strategic objectives for the current fiscal year, we achieved the first one. Again, it was offline environment support, and that MVC shipped in 12.10. We're currently focused on the last 2, our application security testing leadership. We initially had a target at the end of this fiscal year. Looks like we're going to be closer to mid next year and into the early fall. That does not mean we're not delivering value to you today. We're continuing to provide value, and there's a lot of great updates from the team today. But we're a little bit behind that original target. And the final is dogfooding of secure within our engineering organization. And I can't stress enough the value of this. I'm sure we'll have some updates related to this in items we're working on both in this milestone and future. But it's underway. Security teams using it for their top 25 projects. And our development team has started the Secure and Defend engineering team, and they've rolled it out to the majority of our projects. For Defend, we've got 3 main categories here, nicely cascaded down the slide. Again, focus on 2 strategic objectives. We want to emphasize usability and convention over configuration, and we shipped our MVC of that with lots more planned coming out here. And then our second was visibility first, protection second. This one we're a little bit behind on due to the fact that we're having to implement more than we were initially planning. However, we are giving you some visibility today with the ability to export out to your third-party scene. With that, I would want to hand it over to the team, and we'll start with Taylor and static analysis.
Hi, everyone. So I have a very busy 13.5 planned for us. So let's just dive straight into it. We've got some focus on our AST leadership. We're going to be adding support for our custom rule sets. We're actually building this right now. It will support all of our existing secure analyzers for SAST. So about 19 different tools will have a normalized rule format that you can pass into all of those tools. It'll also work for secret detection as well. So really allowing you to consistently interact and customize all of the SAST tooling that we use so that you can change the behavior of the rule sets. And this will particularly be useful for you if you want to stop running certain rules or even add new custom rules to detect things that are not part of our default rule sets. So really excited for that. It's been our top requested SAST feature. So look forward to that in this next release. I also am going to go ahead and share as we move to our next one. Let's see, there we go. Our next one is really focused on following up with our move of secret detection and SAST to core, which we completed last release. We're basically focusing on improving the usability of our SAST and secret detection functionality for non-ultimate plans. So what this looks like in practice today, if you're on a non-ultimate plan, which includes our free offering, your experience using secure tools is not as great as we want it to be. You have to click this one little icon here to see that security scans ran to see them. That's not the best experience, so we want to improve that for you. And so with this release, we're looking to improve that experience to bring the security results to you in line in your merge requests so that you can see that they're are actually security vulnerabilities detected, and then quickly get to those results. So that's one of the improvements we're making to make usability better for our security tools and help more people use security tools with our SAST and secret detection being available to all accounts. The next piece, we also have some really exciting updates for our analyzers. Today we support a variety of tools. We're actually going to be rewriting one of these tools, our Nodejs Scan. There is a new version 4 of this that supports the new SYNGREP mechanism for writing rules. And so we'll be updating our implementation of this to support the new v4 of that, which supports over 100 new Node.js specific rules. And again, this will tie into the previous thing that we mentioned earlier about supporting custom rule sets. So you'll also be able to add your own rules to those. Also, I'm very excited to say that we are working on integrating MobSF, which is a open source security scanner for iOS and Android. This is actually part of a contribution from one of our customers, which we're very excited about. So look forward to hopefully soon having support for iOS and Android. All right, so like I said, action-packed release for SAST, and now I'll hand it off to my other teammates to talk about their sections.
All right, so I'm going to talk about DAST and what we have coming up in 13.5. Let me share my screen and we can look at the few things that we have coming in. They're all based around the same area, adding configuration options and usability around the on-demand scans and the profiles. So the first thing that we're adding is the site validation options for the site profile. And this allows you to validate that you actually are the owner of the site and that there were no mistakes in your configuration so that you can run active scans against your website or API. So we'll be adding 3 different validation methods from a meta tag in your HTML, a text file that you've uploaded to your server, or an HTTP header that you've added to your server. The second thing that we're working on is adding more options into the scanner profile that was introduced in 13.4. So in 13.4, you're able to specify the spider timeout and the target timeout. We're adding in options to select whether it's active or passive scan, turning on or off the AJAX spider, and debug messaging. And the final thing is that we are adding in more options within the site profile, being able to select whether it is a website or API, adding the excluded URLs and additional request headers options, and adding the ability to enable authentication so that you can scan websites that are hidden behind an authentication URL, which you can specify here, as well as the username, password, and the fields that are used for that. Or if it's a REST API, you can use the request headers to copy in tokens and validate authentication that way. So that is what we are adding in 13.5 for DAST, and I will hand it off to Nicole now.
Hopefully I shared the right thing. So as part of our AST leadership, we're working to make everything, kind of continuing on with the theme, more usable and actionable insights when we do find something for you. So this little tiny bit right here, AutoFix Solutions 3 ready for review. Over the past few releases, we've been working hard to introduce a auto remediation bot, which will take these suggested solutions for your dependency scanning and your container scanning and be able to automatically create that MR for you. So that'll run any of your unit tests, regression tests, validation tests that you have built into your pipeline. And so we're going to be exposing that up. You'll be able to turn that on for your project. It'll go ahead, make those MRs for you so you can know right away whether that solution really will work for you to upgrade to that next level of the dependency. And right here, you can see we're going to have a banner so that anyone who misses the release post will be able to tell that we've introduced this. This is going to be around for 1 or 2 releases. And we're doing a bunch of behind the scenes work as well. which is related to upgrading our tooling, reducing bugs, reducing technical debt, which I always spend about half the time of my developers on, because in order to be an AST leader, I feel we need to be reliable and stable. So we're going to continue that through the remainder of this year. And I will hand it off to Fuzzing.
Thanks, Nicole. So what we're focusing on for fuzz testing in the GitLab 13.5 release is really all centered around making sure that the fuzzer and the fuzz testing offering is usable. We released API fuzz testing in our previous release 13.4, and you're able to integrate that into your pipelines and see your results as part of the testing tab in the pipeline, just like you would any other piece of JUnit output. One of the things we're focusing on 13.5, though, are some foundational steps that we need to complete to be able to expose that data inside of the security dashboard, inside the security tabs, along with all the other scanners that you use from Secure that you're used to seeing. So we're going to be focusing on that for the coming release. We're also going to be really focusing on enhancing our documentation to make it more straightforward to get started with API fuzz testing. We know there are a couple different ways that you can use API fuzz testing, such as by using an HAR file. And we want to make those instructions really crisp, really clear, so that you're able to get started and be successful with GitLab right out of the box. We have a number of other projects that we're working on, but we're not quite confident they're going to ship in 13.5. So I'm excited to talk to you all again in probably about a month or so when we have our 13.6 plans nailed down. And with that, I will pass over to Matt to talk about threat insights.
Thanks, Sam. So I am going to start with the show, and then I'll get into a little bit of the tell. Put the visuals first. So for the last several iterations, the main focus has been on the security dashboards and the vulnerability lists. So we've actually made a lot of progress on this. We're getting very near to the end of that work. And a lot of this is what we would consider foundational. So making sure that the right information is available on the screen so that you can take the right actions quickly and efficiently. Some of the highlights to call out, and this is actually a test project live on .com. Some of these features you will see already rolling out in the 13.4 release for self-managed. Detected date is something that was, I think, the top request from our own internal AppSec team. So you can actually see when something was actually first detected, like things that might be sitting around for a while. We're going to continue to build onto this and add sorting. So that's something, another highly requested feature, which is going to make it a lot easier combined with these filters to just drill into looking at exactly what you need to accomplish the task at hand. Other little minor enhancements like these numbers right here currently don't update dynamically when you change the filtered view, but eventually, well, actually, looks like it already went live. I take that back. The MR must have merged already. So we now have dynamic filtering, so you can tell exactly what you're looking at. We've also rolled these across the other dashboards. So previously, the vulnerability reports on the group and the instance level were constrained because there wasn't a lot of horizontal real estate. We're finishing up splitting out the old security, the instance level security dashboard into, we're kind of calling a security center. So there's now dedicated places for these things. So the dashboard can now grow over time with other widgets that are not just related to vulnerability management, but the security stages in general. And you'll see that the vulnerability report here now reflects what is in the project level. So a lot of this information was not present before, again, because of the real estate. So the idea is to really start standardizing the view across vulnerability management. One thing that we have not finished yet, you may have seen, noticed the visualization widgets that I just showed on the security dashboard. We're replacing that with something a little bit more interactive. So you'll have a lot more control over your trends over time with the vulnerabilities. This is a prototype or a mock-up, but these will be clickable, so you can actually adjust the data series and the time slice in real time to get a better understanding of your data. Another thing going towards usability and visibility, it seems like a small little addition, but I think this is going to make a huge impact. Similar to what Nicole showed, right now you can't tell when the last pipeline was run or if there were any issues. So knowing when the last pipeline ran on the default branch is critical to know if your vulnerability, your list at the project level or group or instance is up to date. So by adding this, you'll be able to see not only when it last ran, you have a handy link to that pipeline if you need to investigate it for any failures. So these will take you right to that pipeline, or in the case of this badge, right to the failure tab. So that was the show, those are the visuals, and really quickly on the tell, we do have a lot of other things that are not going to be visible on the front end necessarily, but we are continuing to build out the Graphql API. So vulnerability management is trying to be GraphQL first and make sure that everything that you could do on the front end is supported on the back end. So some of these filtering, sorting capabilities, getting individual vulnerability details are things that we'll be adding over the next couple of releases. Another big piece of work that we're going to start on is special references for vulnerabilities. Just like you can mention an issue or an MR by using a special character and then the number, the ID of that, we're going to add that for vulnerabilities as well, so that you can, in an issue, just drop a link to it very quickly. So that's another item to expect over the next couple of releases. And with that, that's it for vulnerability management. I guess I'll pass it on to Sam White and Defend.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. Looking forward to those improvements. In Defend, we currently don't have anything big planned for 13.5, but I wanted to highlight some of the work the team is doing. In line with our theme about visibility first and protection second, right now, alerts are really hard to view for Defend. Really, they're represented as logs, and to get to those, you have to log into the Kubernetes cluster and basically parse through a text file manually. So that means they're hard to access and read, they're hard to filter. You're basically just scrubbing through a big text file. There's no way to track the status. And like most logs, they're really large in volume. So we plan in 13.5 to do some of the back-end plumbing work to get in place where we can actually surface a subset of those logs in the GitLab UI as alerts. And the way that'll work is we'll extend the policy editor functionality that we added in 13.4 to create a new option where you can add an action to any of your policies. Adding an action will let you send an alert to GitLab. So again, this lets you bring down that mountain of logs to just those items that are actually interesting and need a human to go and review them that actually constitute an alert. Once you do that, once the alert fires, it will show up on an alert dashboard similar to this one, where you can then move the status around, change the status, or optionally dismiss it. And that's what we have planned in Defend. David, I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, everyone, for going over the highlights. Again, if you're watching the video, thank you very much for taking the time to hear our updates. We look forward to continuing to give you amazing security features and improvements. If you have any questions on anything anybody went over, feel free to comment on the issue, and we'll get right back to you on it. So again, thank you, everyone, and have a great day.